during my musings regarding my thoughts about Expedition 33 winning the Game Awards Slap of the Year award, I mentioned offhand that Cyberpunk 2077 was the defining example of a forced AstroTurf game that the community really desperately wants to legitimize. It's the one game that failed at launch, completely wrecked CD Projekt Red's credibility. It destroyed the company. It's never going to recover from this. And yet, we're still supposed to believe that Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the greatest games of all time. It is so bad that game journos will try and gaslight you into thinking Cyberpunk 2077 is the only third-party game that's doing well on Nintendo Switch 2. Even though it's not currently even in the top 15 bestsellers. it's a giant cope. It always has been. But I was watching I Am Desire's video, covering my content. I don't know what it was about. It was it was something about Expedition 33. And I brought up Cyberpunk as an example of the Slap of the Year award, and he immediately freaks out. He tries to sit there and he's like, "Oh man, CD Projekt Red, Cyberpunk 27, it worked on every single console it released on, other than the PS4, the Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch 2. So literally every single major platform, completely broken, completely glitchy, completely unplayable, and yet we're supposed to believe this is the greatest game ever. We are supposed to believe that this is one of the greatest games of all time, even though this was a complete disaster of a launch. In fact, the Switch 2 version is probably the best one because it's the only one that launched completely fine. There is nothing wrong with the Switch 2 version of Cyberpunk 2077 other than the game itself being objectively terrible. By the way, I do own the game and have played it, so I know what I'm talking about. So, but here's the double standard. Here's the weird thing about Cyberpunk that just kind of dawned on me. This is supposedly a 10 out of 10 game. It's supposedly this amazing story. It's this amazing experience. It's this amazing video game, one of the best ever made. And yet, for some inexplicable reason, has absolutely no following on Nintendo Switch 2. Nobody is talking about this game. Nobody is playing this game. It is not on the bestsellers list. Cyberpunk 2077, in spite of all this hype and worship among the game journal community, has had no momentum on Nintendo Switch at all. And it's not because the console is failing or it's struggling. If anything, it's the exact opposite. Is that there are so many better games than Cyberpunk that it has been completely buried and forgotten about. And yet, the Cyberpunk fanboys, for some reason, want to create this alternate reality where Cyberpunk is this huge bestseller on Nintendo Switch 2, the only good game on the platform, and yet they don't have anything nice to say about the version. In fact, they come out and try to say that version is broken, that version is buggy, that it looks terrible, that it doesn't play very well. And buddy, you're defending Cyberpunk 2077. So you're saying that it was perfectly fine for launch day Cyberpunk 2077 to be completely glitchy, unplayable, broken, just complete slop, and yet the much superior day one Nintendo Switch 2 version is being written off essentially because it is a Nintendo version of the game. And that's kind of my mentality on it at this point. When it comes to all these major third-party games, stuff like, Fatal Frame is a really good example, No More Heroes, Bayonetta. Games like this, Street Fighter 6 even, games like this that have a reasonable amount of success on Nintendo consoles just get completely ignored because the real versions are on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Even if those versions never even see release, or even if those versions were originally broken and unplayable. There is no doubt in my mind, having played it, that the Nintendo Switch 2 version of Cyberpunk 2077 is better than the PC version that launched in day one in 2020. Cyberpunk 2077 is just fundamentally at its core a bad video game, and there's just no getting around it. There's no avoiding it. Like there's no like, weaseling your way out of it. Like the game just isn't good. And one of the things that I found interesting about it is this claim among the community that it's sold, like Cyberpunk 2077 has sold 30 million copies. Hey, genius. It's because they put it out on clearance. You can regularly get that game for like what, $30. It's on sale all the time. Like people don't realize this, but this was supposed to be a bigger IP than that. This was supposed to be like, it was supposed to have sold that much, like, in the first year or so. Like this was supposed to be like, this huge, big evolution for CD Projekt Red, and what happens? It just completely implodes. Like nobody cares about it. And they lost a ton of money. Like most of its sales have come like through clearance bins after the fact. They simply bled money on this release, and all of their attempts at trying to gaslight people into thinking this thing is like super successful, whether it's through like the anime adaptation, the DLC, or this recent Nintendo Switch 2 port, like all of it just fails to account for the disastrous launch that just completely tanked the reputation of CD Projekt Red forever. There is no recovery for this. People are still like, trying to gas themselves up. Like, oh, The Witcher 1 remake's going to be good. The Witcher 4 is going to be good with bisexual girl boss Ciri. Like even though the red flags are pretty clear for everyone to see, and like the reception that goes to be a toy, which is a much more mild case compared to this, like I think it's very evident that like the Witcher remake and The Witcher 4 are just going to fall flat on their face. And what is CD Projekt Red going to do after that? The Witcher IP is milk dead. It's not coming back. They, nobody reads the books. Nobody cares about them. Like it's just a disaster of an IP. And like, it's something that people really wanted to get to gaslight you into thinking was like the big new thing for a long time. Like it was going to be like the new Game of Thrones or something, and it just never happened. It got mogged by Monster Hunter, it got mogged by Zelda, it's gotten mogged by like, Elden Ring even. Like, the Witcher brand is just completely irrelevant in 2025. And I can't imagine how bad it's going to look, after these games fail the way they're intended to. I imagine, to be completely bluntly honest with you, I imagine most Witcher 3 players have never even gotten close to the ending. Like that's kind of my mindset about them. That's kind of my opinion of their skill level and like how much time they put into games. Like I imagine most Witcher 3 fans haven't even come close to the ending. Like, are they really going to sell like a worse looking like Witcher 4 to the same audience who haven't even beaten The Witcher 3? That's going to be a real problem, I think, for CD Projekt Red going forward, is that like, they're just going to keep pumping out these games, and they're just going to like just keep releasing the crickets. And honestly, like I really don't understand why so many people are so adamant to try and gaslight you into thinking Cyberpunk 2077 is some like huge success story, and that it's that it came back and that it's relevant, because it never has been. Honestly, it's just a giant cope. Like people just can't admit that their golden goose CD Projekt Red like fell from grace in record time. Like people were memeing about superior Polish developers for like 5 years until this came out. And like, you're really gonna try and tell me that like they're gonna maintain this level of quality? Like The Witcher is old news. CD Projekt Red is done. Like good old games is irrelevant. Like CD Projekt Red has been a complete flop. And what's more, like 5 years later, like what are they gonna do next? Like after the Witcher like revival flops, which by the way they insisted back when Witcher 3 came out they would never go back to. Like once that goes down, like what are they gonna have left? Like this company, this golden goose, CD Projekt Red, has just completely collapsed, and everyone seems to know it except for the fanboys. And that's the that's what we have to deal with every single time that CD Projekt Red is in the news or whatever people talk about like Cyberpunk is that people try and tell you that they're still on top of their game. It's like BioWare after Mass Effect 3. Like everyone hated it, it destroyed the entire trilogy, but people really thought that like, well, it was just a one-off thing, it was just those specific writers, like just, they'll fix it with DLC and what happens? It never happens. Like that's kind of my mindset with CD Projekt Red. Like BioWare did not fail after Mass Effect 3. They failed after like Dragon Age Inquisition and Andromeda and like Dragon Age Veilguard. Like it was like it took like a decade for people to like kind of catch on to the fact that like BioWare wasn't producing good games anymore. And CD Projekt Red is still in that cycle. You still have like a group of religious like PC fanboys like defending everything the company does and trying to make them out to be like, you know, God's gift to gaming. And it simply is not and never will be true. Like it's shocking how Breath of the Wild mocked Witcher 3 when it came out and then put out a sequel before that, and in the meantime like continued to put out remakes, remasters, new Zelda spin-off titles, re-releases of older games, all while we still have not seen a single Witcher follow-up. Not a remake, not a remaster, not a new game, like nothing. Like Witcher fans have spent like the past decade doing nothing but playing Witcher 3 and like coping about Henry Cavill as Geralt. Like they don't have anything going for them. And that's just the reality of the situation we're in now. Like, CD Projekt Red is done. Cyberpunk 2077 was not a milestone in gaming. It is not a major title on Switch 2. It is a complete and total farce and really, truly needs to be thought of as such.